a lot of these things in a good way are not going to be things that you would look for or maybe even that you care about. It's not really curated for any of you. It's mainly for me. And I found a lot of these things on accident in person. I'm back with another video and I'm so excited to put this out here because I need it as much as you need it. I am in a creative rut, and whenever this happens, I know two things are going on. One, I'm burnt out at some stage. I need to relax. And two, I need new sources of inspiration. And in these moments, I get super tempted to just scroll endlessly on Pinterest because I'm like, I just need really quick inspiration right now because I don't know why I can't create in the way that I want to create. And it's really tricky, especially when I have a podcast and also my job is really creative. So I need that source all the time. I'm going to just compile all the inspiration that I've seen, physical and not physical, on my phone, wherever it is, and put it together here for you to see, but also for myself because it helps me organize where I want to go next. And in a way, this is really cool because it is not an algorithm. It's not really curated for any of you. It's mainly for me. And I found a lot of these things on accident in person. A lot of these things in a good way are not going to be things that you would look for or maybe even that you care about, that you might not even find inspiring. But I think that's part of the mess. You have to be able to accept a lot of junk in order to find really, really good things. And stumble on something accidentally. We don't do that enough nowadays because the algorithm is so good at what it's doing that it always knows what to feed you. You're just kind of always in an echo chamber of really good stuff for yourself. And you never really branch out into things that you never thought you could love and would be willing to try out. And so I think that this video will be helpful for the both of us. And I am going to try really, really hard. If you guys have been here before, you guys know kind of how this works. I am going to try my best to describe verbally what I'm seeing on the screen so that if you are not looking at your screen or you're at the gym or whatever you're doing, you don't have to look at the screen because I'm going to try my best to describe it. But obviously, easier said than done. I do have a lot of fun categories though, and I'm excited to talk about art, books, entertainment, music, architecture, home, people, fashion, nature, quotes, cultures, society, and miscellaneous. So let's get started with art. It's the one category that I always have the most trouble with because I'm always finding so much art that I love that I have to narrow it down. So starting in art, this is Extra Life by Rob, either Win or Wine. And I got to see this in person at the Brooklyn Museum at the Iris Van Herpen exhibit. She is a designer. Amongst all her clothing pieces, she also sprinkled in other people's art that were in similar themes and categories as the pieces that she was displaying. And when I saw this huge, it was like, I don't know, 10 feet piece on the wall, I loved it so much. It's glass spheres and they are stuck against the wall. They reflect beautifully. I mean, I did a really good job with this picture to like capture how like beautiful it was. Even more beautiful in person. The next one is also in the same exhibit. It was Our Evolution. It almost seems like three different people. I can almost imagine and assume that maybe these are the same person, but at different ages, and they're all being merged in together. When I look at this, it almost reminds me of what I feel like when I have a little bit of like a mental breakdown and my brain is kind of like going crazy and I don't really know who I am and like what I'm doing to myself. And I feel like my worst enemy. This is kind of what it looks like in my head. Next is this picture of Daniel Caesar. I saw this photo shoot on my Instagram and it was for Interlope magazine by Elena Motola. I don't know what Daniel Caesar's relationship is to Elena, the photographer, but the way that this photo is taken, if let's say they're not even close or whatever, having a photographer kind of take a picture like this, and also the fact that he's still living out his life normally, you can almost pretend that the photographer isn't there, but the way that she's like wrapping herself around him while he's fixing his hair in the mirror, it's so intrusive that it's almost a visual representation of how a photographer can intrude on the private parts of life. I also, if you guys didn't know, live in New York City, and in some of the subways, there have been mosaic art pieces, and I pass by them all the time, and they are stunning. This set of pieces is from Marcel Duchamp, called No Less Than Everything Comes Together. And I mean, there's multiple pieces in this collection, but I love their use of blue and yellow. It's something that is really frequent in a lot of their pieces, and I love the idea of using the sun and the moon and dancers. Those are a lot of things that I love. And the textures of tile and mosaic, like something about it is so satisfying. It's also very difficult to work with because you have to get the pieces the right shape and size. So I have a lot of respect for it, and I love how durable the piece is, how long it lasts because of the material and the way it's put together. A lot of the pieces that I see nowadays are like paintings because of my algorithm and what really gets famous on Instagram and social media, because it's so much easier to create paintings, I would say, in comparison to using more harder materials that you have to physically take a lot more time to work with. Because of that, you can't produce as fast, and that doesn't work very well with the algorithm. All right, on the same idea of tile, I saw this set of tiles by Anna, and she does smaller pieces where she uses smaller ceramic tiles and puts them together into a collage. First off, collaging with tile is such an interesting concept. I love the colors she uses, like the gray and the black and the olive green. This color palette, it's like one of my favorite go-to color palettes. Okay, actually final in the art category is the Apollo Wind Spinner by Jeff Koons. And this is on Hydra, an island in Greece, and I got to visit Hydra in April. I've never really liked Jeff Koons' art. He's the pop artist that got famous for the balloon animals that are metallic and massive, and I'm also really not a big fan of pop art, so I am biased. But this piece specifically, I loved it so much that I actually tattooed it on myself the other day, and I have it here. It's like my version of the sun. But I like that he combines ancient art by using Apollo, and like the technique and the material itself is like a lot more old and ancient and rustic in a way. And then he combines it with his obviously talent in pop art. So I love this piece. I also just like that the sun is not smiling. It's something about it is just like not cheesy and too happy. Should we go to music? Let's go to music. Okay, next in the music category, I got to see Noah Kahan in person, and I was so inspired by his tour set. It was, even if I were deaf, I would have had such a good time. I had ASMR for my ears and my eyes at this concert. Even the picture looks beautiful. You know it's good when the picture looks good too, you know? Also, I've been really inspired by album covers, funnily enough, like really weird. But I realized the other day when I was kind of looking through my Spotify that a lot of the album covers are taken for granted because you're just focusing on the music. But a lot goes into an album cover because it's going to stick with the artist's career for a long time. And there's so many different styles, like graphic, a lot of illustration, and just like really strange photography. Next, I have a few specific songs / artists. I talked about this in I think a few episodes back about how I've been really getting into rap recently. I've been specifically really liking Smino and Jid.
She sat me in the sprinter with my entourage and shit. Face all on my stomach, got her 50 on my feet. Okay, I copped the whip, then wrapped it with the shiny palette. No bitch, you does, she $20.
Me and my two, okay. Me and my two, alright. Okay. Me and my two niggas, we like Ed and Eddie. I'm Zach, you AC, they're Jesse and Kelly.
Also, two specific songs that I've been loving is Juicy by Jordan Ward.
Get me like a juicy baby. I don't have to be your favorite. For the slow burn, I'll take my money out to save, lady, to finally fall.
And The Recipe by Sir.
I should make her more than company. I swear she got that fire. But does it compare to Cali? No. Now she feeding for the rest of me. But that isn't in the recipe.
Next category is people. People that I have been following. I have been following Susie Garvey. I love a lot of things about this woman. She has such a cool and very consistent style. It's easy to tell that she's not somebody who's easily swayed by trends in general. She knows what she likes and what fits into her style specifically. That loyalty and that decisiveness in her style choice is what I love about her. I think a lot of people, when I look at their outfits and I'm like, 2 months ago you were wearing some completely different style. Now you're wearing this Y2K style when 2 months ago you were wearing like ballerina core or something like that. She adds a little bit of an artistic DIY flair to her posts and YouTube and whatnot, and I love looking at her posts for inspiration. Next is by Milan. This is a really good Instagram account if you're looking for content that isn't brain rot. If you're looking for a once in a while post where you get to learn something casually about spirituality, self-help / wellness. He does this in a way that's not annoying and not productivity based. There's this one particular video. He does such a good job of explaining the concept.
Self-trust is directly linked to your ability to take risks, and reality responds to your audacity. It will give you opportunities in proportion to what you think that you deserve. And so your current results are a direct mirror to your level of internal self-trust. If I were to wire you the money today that you say that you want, or to give you the career opportunity, or to present you with a suitable partner, are you mentally and energetically prepared to receive that? And better yet, maintain that. You see, if the vessel is not clean, whatever you pour in it will become sour. In order to change your life in record time, you have to do the work of what I call readying the vessel. You as the vessel need to prepare yourself to hold the things that you say you desire. Right now, your subconscious has built a ceiling on what it is you're able to receive. And just like in pottery, where you can constantly refine and reshape the clay to become a perfect vase, you can do the same thing with your mind. Breaking through your subconscious ceilings, untangling unconscious programs that no longer serve you, is like reshaping the clay. And if you don't do that inner work, then your reality and your vase will be warped. But here's the secret though, you don't do this through grand gestures, but by focusing on one thing, your self-trust. After reading 500 plus books on spirituality, the mind, the self, I've come to understand that a law of the universe is that your conviction creates your reality. If you lack conviction, you probably don't trust yourself enough to execute. Or if you do execute, it's half-hearted because you don't believe that you'll be able to hold the results when they come. As I said, the universe is impartial, it doesn't react. It responds to the underlying energy that permeates and directs your intentions. When you have high conviction and high self-trust, it allows you to take bigger risks and therefore bring back bigger results. Your manifestation quite literally accelerates. But when you have low self-trust and low conviction, you take safer bets. You shy away from opportunities and you sabotage what's going well. So your current identity and frequency is wired to bring you back into what feels safe, because that is what your nervous system has become familiar with. However, the good news is your self-trust is something that you build and you work on every single day. It's something you train, and like any relationship, it gets stronger every time you show up. You can update your subconscious narrative by staying true to your word, by making promises that are so stupidly small that you have no choice but to follow through, and then progressively overloading the amount of risk that you take each day. As I said, it's not a grand gesture. You don't promise yourself you're going to write an entire book in 1 month, but you do promise yourself that you're going to write 1 sentence each day. You don't commit to working out 7 days a week, but you do promise 20 minutes of movement each day. Repetition creates evidence, and evidence builds your conviction and self-trust. So remember, it was never about timing or hard work. It was about preparedness, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Until you believe you deserve what it is you desire, until the vessel is ready, nothing in your reality will change. You have to override your old frequency with intention.
All right, next category is nature. I went to Indiana, and if you guys know anything about Indiana, it is in the middle of nowhere. It's the Midwest, sorry, for anyone who's from that area, but there isn't much going on. It's very suburban. I went there to help my brother move, and even though I knew that it wasn't an exciting / well-known place, I was going to take advantage of the fact that I was in a new place. I think I just am happy to be anywhere when it's a new place. And so when I was in Indiana, I fully took advantage of my surroundings. There was a lot of charm in old buildings. There was actually a lot more architectural variety. There was a lot of color variety and a lot of texture variety. And you can see in the picture, like, this is a pink house and the house that we stayed at was a green house. You don't see that every day in California or in the west suburbs. All right, next is this fig tree in Elizabeth Garden. This is in New York. I was looking at this massive tree and I realized it was a huge fig tree, which is in season right now. I love figs so much. They're such a beautiful fruit from the outside and the inside. And so, yeah, I was inspired. Then I saw this really cute spotted duck on Ash Callaghan's Instagram. I don't know what it was, but when I saw this, I was like, I need to take a screenshot because it was like a polka dotted duck, and the texture of the fur on this duck, I don't know. You know, sometimes the inspiration that you get, you don't understand what it's leading to, why it inspires you, but you should save it anyways because you don't need to understand how it's going to get you there. You just need to remember it and keep it stored somewhere in your brain. You start mixing different things in ways that you could not have imagined and that you fully do not understand. And that's what's so exciting about getting new inspiration. So in this case, I was inspired by the fur of this duck. I was also in Oregon coast and I was very, very inspired by the terrain there. If anyone knows about the Oregon coast, you know how beautiful it can be. Here's some Instagram posts that I came across, and I have multiple Instagram accounts, and so my algorithm on each Instagram account is very, very different because I use my Instagram accounts for different reasons. And so this allows me to have a little bit more variety in terms of the content that I see and the type of algorithm that I'm being tailored to. So I saw this proposal video and I thought it was very sweet and creative, and something about it was just not that corny and just really well done.
Okay.
What the hell? Thank you. And then I saw this post, and this is one of the most happy posts I've ever seen. It was so like real and just all about human connection. It's about these guys. They drink too much. They're trying to get home safely. They get an Uber and they become friends with the taxi driver. Joshua Charo, he is featured in this video. He's an ex-ballet dancer who now paints thousands of ballet shoes for the New York City Ballet, which I did not realize had to be hand-painted by somebody.
I paint shoes for New York City Ballet. How many shoes have I painted? Probably as many in this room. Thousands. It's been that way for 15 years. There's art in painting shoes. There's an art in, wanting to match that color, to get it right so that it looks great with the costume. It's like I'm finishing the painting. The dancers, they have to trust me. Boy, when it's on the stage, it's pretty thrilling. Do I still dance now? Oh yes, every day, some way. Okay. I didn't start taking ballet until I was 19. Why did I come to New York?
The story behind it is so inspiring. I mean, obviously I'm biased because I am a dancer. He still is in the arts post-dancing, and he is still dancing as he gets older. Next category is books and entertainment. So I watched 2 or 3 movies recently. First is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I watched this movie because I was specifically in the mood for a romantic movie that would make me cry. That's what I looked up online, and this is one of the movies that popped up. This was a lot more than I expected. I did not realize it was also a sci-fi movie, so then when I was watching it in the dark, I had put in my headphones and I kept the noise canceling settings on, and so there are parts that get really kind of intense and scary, and the music gets really creepy. And I was just like sitting in the dark watching this, and I was like, this is probably not the best way to watch this right now. And I was fully not expecting it to turn creepy. So it was actually very, very creepy. I started looking around the room but it still ended up being such an interesting movie. I really loved one of the quotes in the movie. One of the characters says a quote from the Pope, Alexander Pope, I believe, and it is, "How happy is the blameless vestal's lot, the world forgetting by the world forgot, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind." I love this quote so much that I looked it up afterwards to kind of see what the intended meaning was. Next two movies I put together, Obsession and The Drama, and I know they're different plot lines, whatever. Obsession was just out in theaters. I know a lot of people are talking about it, but the idea of this movie is that there's this toy where you can make one wish. This affects a relationship in a way. The other one is The Drama, where there's a couple that are going to get married and then they have a conversation with their friends and they're all talking about what's the worst thing that they've ever done, and something about what one of the characters says caused a lot of problems. So that's what The Drama is about. Both of these movies, even though they're very, very different, they're movies that I actually talked about for a very, very long time after watching. Like, I still think about these two movies frequently, not just like what happens in them, but like the concepts behind them and how it was done. I think about it a lot actually, and I bring it up in conversation a lot. And I also really appreciated how authentic the dialogue is. When I was listening to the script, I was like, whoa, this is exactly what it sounds like to have a conversation in real life. Like, it doesn't seem fake or forced or kind of awkwardly placed. I like how they focus on very, very real human experiences and emotions that aren't as talked about. They're still so real and like happen way more often than people expect because nobody talks about it, so people don't expect it. The fact that they decided to focus on these areas is really, really cool, and actually probably makes people feel a little bit less lonely. Okay, finally, Outline by Rachel Cusk. I have this book next to me. It is a really beautiful book. It's a very simple white border with a shell in the middle. And this book is essentially about a writer, and she is teaching a writing class, and she speaks to a ton of people in the course of the book. And so the entire book is basically dialogue. It's her just talking and meeting with a bunch of people. Nothing actually really happens, I would say. It's just a bunch of conversations. Somehow it was still interesting, even though there wasn't really a plot. She does a really good job of explaining certain thoughts I've had before that are a lot more complex. I'm not great at explaining it. Okay, so first, this one's about being a parent / raising children. But his own mother had once said to him in the period after his first marriage had ended that he was deeply concerned about the effect the divorce was having on the children, that family life was bittersweet no matter what you did. If it wasn't divorce, it would be something else, she said. There is no such thing as an unblemished childhood, though people will do everything they can to convince you otherwise. There was no such thing as life without pain, and as for divorce, even if you lived like a saint, you would still experience all the same losses, however much you tried to explain them away. I could weep just to think that I'll never see you again, as you were at the age of 6. I would give anything, she said, to meet that 6-year-old one more time. But everything falls away, try as you might to stop it, and for whatever returns to you, be grateful. And this quote is really interesting because this is kind of what it feels like to be not fully in your body, very disconnected from the world. It's a really good way of explaining how it feels to be dissociated almost all the time. It is maybe a defense mechanism and maybe a way to stay safe because I'm not actually being touched by it, but it also means at the same time, I'm not actually living through whatever is happening in life. When I think back to the time before, and especially to the years of my marriage, it seems to me as though my wife and I looked at the world through a long lens of preconception. by which we held ourselves at some unbreachable distance from what was around us, a distance that constituted a kind of safety, but also created a space for illusion. We never, I think, discovered the true nature of the things we saw, any more than we were ever in danger of being affected by them. We peered at them, at people and places, like people on a ship peer at the passing mainland. And should we have seen them in any kind of trouble, or they us, there would have been nothing whatever either one of us could have done about it. Highly recommend that book. All right, next is architecture and home. I was in Greece and am still inspired by the Greek architecture. I go back to these photos more than I've gone back to any of my trip photos because I took so many photos of the surroundings that I saw. And I think it's the texture of the walls and the stones that they use, the colors that they use, the emphasis on seashell and tile that I really love. The doors there are so beautiful and so fun and exciting. Also, I saw this really cool rug in Turkey and it had really cute little figures and animals on it. And I love the color red with the orange and yellow on this piece. Next are two places that I checked out in New York. One is a home goods store and another is a restaurant. But I think in general, home goods stores are obviously usually filled with a ton of interior inspiration because that's literally their job. And if you find a pretty good one, you'll find one that chose a building that was also very interesting. This is Seabone Ote, and I checked this out in Brooklyn. Such a cool industrial space. I loved it. I mean, everything in there is expensive. I didn't really need anything when I was going at the time. I still was having so much fun checking everything out. Also, this is Birds of a Feather. It's a Chinese restaurant in Brooklyn as well. And I love the pine, the browns used in the restaurant. I love the minimalist, kind of like Japanese trinket kind of style that they had going on. It was very sweet. So I did love both of these locations. And if you kind of look at it, they kind of fit a similar vibe, so you guys can get the idea of what I like. Obviously, the huge massive windows I'm always a big fan of, and white brick. Love white brick. This is also from Susie's Instagram, which I just talked about, but she was at this random place. I have no idea where she was. Maybe a library I'm looking at. I have no idea. Wherever it was, also love like the textures in this photo and the pieces that are on the wall, like this yellow black. I think someone painted yellow over a black frame, and again, it does really match the other vibes. Next is fashion. So in fashion, I saw this wedding ring by Brenda #. Her Instagram is filled with a bunch of fashion and like random design things. She posted a picture of her stunning wedding ring. I didn't even know you could do this, and now that I know, I will be unstoppable. This is so cool. A hidden diamond ring. So basically, this ring on the outside looks like a regular silver band, but the entire inside is lined by diamonds. So it's like as if you took a diamond ring and flipped it inside out. What a cool concept. I did not know you could do this. And I am seriously contemplating this. This is so cool. And then next is Van Herpen's exhibit, which I talked about. She combines science, biology, and nature, the textures of nature, the microorganisms, like every aspect of it, and uses it to get inspiration for her clothing pieces. She uses a lot of like glass and synthetic materials that she creates in the lab. Some of them remind me, like this one reminds me of like a lobster tail or like sound waves. And finally, I saw this mock neck halter, and I like this specifically because I like the cut of it and the texture of the knit. Like it's a good thick knit that you would normally use in a sweater, but they turned it into a halter neck. And I also like that it's mock neck and not a thin neck. This whole piece, I tried to find it online. I was like, where do you even get something like this? Because I was like, I love this top. It's like different enough from other halter tops that I'm putting in a whole different category, and I cannot find it. All right, last but not least, quotes. These are 2 quotes I saw on random reels. It was very poetic. I was like, these are just random comments, but you would be surprised how much poetry and deep thinking you can find in very casual things. So in this one random reel, someone said, I wonder why there's so much being said about this millionaire not eating, but not about the poor who can't afford to eat. What a weird world. Next is Skygazer and another reel. They said, I think they meant it as some people are so poor, all they have is money. Then, The Memory of Happiness is Perhaps Also Happiness by Agnes Varda. This is also supposed to have an accent, but I don't know why it didn't show up. But there's an accent there. And finally, there's this one Instagram post that I saw by Jason Rewired. And he's also somebody who does a lot of reflective posts on Instagram. And I really like this one carousel that he posted. You wouldn't buy the cheapest flight, then complain the wine wasn't provided. You wouldn't go fishing, then complain that you have to wait. You wouldn't go camping, then complain that there's no air conditioning. Why? Because you know that's part of the deal, but somehow we choose a 9 to 5, then complain we don't have freedom during the day. We choose a relationship, then complain we have to compromise. We choose to build a business, then complain life feels uncertain. It feels as if we expected the benefits but forgot about the trade-offs. Sometimes our frustration doesn't come from paying the price, it comes from forgetting there's always a price. Maybe life isn't punishing us, it's simply delivering the full package we signed up for, because every meaningful choice comes bundled with something difficult. You can't choose only the reward. Maybe peace doesn't come from finding a life without trade-offs. It's remembering that the price is part of what makes the reward possible. All right, so that is everything that I wanted to bring up for inspiration that I found recently. I hope that you guys found these things inspiring. And if you guys have music, books, movies, art, whatever that you found inspiring as well, you can leave them down below because I would love to see what you guys have been loving and can't shut up about. Okay, it's a little bit later now. Post New York humidity. I feel disgusting, very sticky, but I was like, I need to get this Hyla Buffalo segment of the video filmed. And so you're gonna just excuse my appearance and we're gonna move on. Okay, Hyla Buffalo is the good thing, the bad thing, the weird thing that has happened. It is a segment I do at the very end of every single episode to give you guys a life update. It has nothing to do with the video. High being the good thing, low being the bad thing, and then Buffalo is the weird thing that happened. So starting with a high, I got to be a tourist in New York City. As you guys know, I've been living here for 4 years now, and somehow I have not tried a chopped cheese. And if you guys don't know what that is, I didn't know what it was either, but I knew it was a trendy thing because there's this reel that's going around about ordering a chopped cheese.
Yes, my brother, man. Help you today.
Yeah, I've come from the UK and I want to try a chopped cheese, Jamaican patty. I want to stick some hot sauce in it, some crisps in it, and I want to have it the Oki way.
Yes, my brother, cousin, man. Help you
So
today.
let me get a chopped cheese or Jamaican patties with some shebang chips. The Oki way!
Same night that I tried my first chopped cheese was also the same night that I ordered food from a bodega. In New York, we have bodegas, which are 24/7 delis, small convenience stores, and we call them bodegas. And I have been in one, but I've never ordered food in one. Also, that same night, I visited the How I Met Your Mother bar in New York City. It's not the actual bar where the episodes are filmed, but it is the set inspiration for the TV show. And it is, I realized this week, the only show that I've actually finished from start to the end. It's a big deal. I went to the bar with my roommate and her boyfriend, and we tried their How I Met Your Mother drinks, which was really fun and was surprisingly very good. I got the SOB, which is son of a bitch. It's a Lily saying, and the drink itself is just vanilla, Coke, I think vodka. Next is my low, which is the bad thing that has happened. I think I am burning out. And for everyone who's watched this podcast many times, who's been here before, no one's surprised. But this one took me a long time to get to because now I'm not working corporate anymore. And so I'm not as miserable, but I definitely have been overworking myself. And I should have saw it coming because I was working when I was on vacation. I was working whenever I was supposed to be taking a break and I didn't know when to stop. It's a tricky thing working for yourself and running your own business because you really don't know when to stop. And I know that is a stereotype and I fit it perfectly, apparently. Finally, this is the Buffalo. There's two things that I wanted to bring up. The two weird things that have happened. I have a push towards doing something in music, fashion, and dance. And I'm really, really acknowledging it now. And it's something that I've had such a strong interest for, but I didn't really have a lot of faith in myself. And as I've switched careers and done artist way and just like learned a lot about what you can and can't do in life, I realized that the only person that's holding myself back is myself. And this whole time, I didn't want to admit I wanted to do these things because I was afraid of failing and trying in the first place. And so I've been really going for dance, and I'm really, really considering what I could do in dance, being a teacher, maybe performing, and being very serious about it. In the beginning of moving to New York, I took dance classes here and there, one class a week, maybe 1 or 2 classes a month. And then more recently, I've been taking around 4 classes a week, which is a lot more intense. And I'm thinking about doing a program. Also, just in fashion, I don't know. Was thinking about the music thing, and when I was younger, fun fact, I used to audition for TV shows and different things, and I used to sing. It used to be my thing, and I used to sing a lot, way too much. It was actually very, very annoying. I performed for my family, I've performed for friends, and I surprisingly more recently have been talking to a lot of people on the dating apps which happen to be musicians. So it's either my type is musicians all of a sudden, or more people are moving to New York City that are musicians, or I am attracted to people who are musicians because I actually want to be them. I don't know. Anyways, the final thing, last time when I did my last episode, which was I think life is a big fat joke. I think that's what the episode was. At the very end of the episode, I talked about how the cherry on the top of everything that has happened to me is that I sprained my ankle. And in the past, when I've done that before, it really only took me a week to heal. But it has been 2.5 weeks now, and my ankle is still not healed. And I've been putting in a brace, using Tiger Balm, and icing it. And I am still not 100% better. I think I'm 80% now, and made me realize I am genuinely aging. Like my body is not how it was before. I am not somebody who can just spring back up. I don't know. Back then I used to heal so quickly and I didn't realize it until now. And I don't usually feel old, but now I do. Physically old. Anyways, that's my Buffalo, the weird thing that has happened. Thanks for listening to this episode. I think this was a pretty long one, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It means so much to me that you guys even watch one or come back at all. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow the podcast and rate the podcast if you're listening to it on any other platform. And yeah, bye.